Very good morning to everyone. Welcome to my channel. So today we are going to discuss the PYQ previous year questions series of UPSC Main 2025, where we would be starting our discussion with General Studies paper 1, and so let's get into it. So the question number 1, which says from UPSC CSC 2025 GS1, the question number 1 is like, discuss the salient features of the Harappan architecture. And the explanation to this question would be like, the architecture of Harappan civilization reflects a high degree of urban planning, engineering skill, and civic organization. So basically what happens, so the Indus Valley civilization, or as we also call the Harappan civilization, was the first urban and one of the largest civilization in South Asia. Like, it coexisted with the Mesopotamian civilization in Egypt. As we all know, like the most famous civilization we found till now is like, one is obviously it is Indus Valley civilization, or the Harappan one, and the second one is the Mesopotamian, which is from Egypt we found. So basically, as per the archaeological excavations which was undertook in India in sites like Harappa, then Mohenjo-daro, then Dholavira, which remarked, like, revealing, which is also being known for its introduction of the town planning and architectural fixture. So basically, the Indus Valley civilization is being remarkable for its town planning and for its architectural features. And as we see, like, the question, why, the reason behind why this question was being asked in the exam, was because 2024 was marked as the centenary, or it is the 100th. So 2024 was being marked as the 100th anniversary. Like, as we can see, it is the 100th anniversary for the discovery of the Indus Valley civilization. So basically, the Indus Valley civilization was being discovered by John Marshall in 1924. So in 2024, it was being declared as the 100th. Like, it completed the century, I can say. So this is basically the basics, as we can write as an introduction of this question. If we looked forward, like, the question asked, like, it is written, the silent features. So we can see the silent features here. So this is the question it asked. So the silent features, which starting from here. So we see the first thing as we can write, because I already mentioned, it is about the town planning. Mostly Indus Valley civilization known for its town planning and its the feature of having more architectural features. Like, so as we can see, the urban planning, the well-planned cities. So Harappan cities were laid out on a grid pattern with streets intersecting at each angles. The cities were generally divided into citadel or lower town. So citadel is basically the administrative or public building, which is also being known as the elevated area, and there will be one lower town, which is known for its residential settlements. So we can see the well-planned settlements. So mostly the cities are being known for its grid pattern, having streets and having the well-planned, like the citadel, or whether it is the lower town. So mostly the example which we found is like, it includes the Mohenjo-daro, the Kalibangan. It shows the clear evidence of such planning, the Dholavira and the Harappa as well. So as we can see, so moving forward, as we can see, the other feature which we the use of the standardized brick. So basically the bricks has been used here. So as we can see, the brick has been used. Okay, so basically the backed brick of uniform size, of having a particular size, were being used, indicating the standardized production and possibly the centralized authority. So buildings were mainly constructed with burnt brick, or the backed brick, and it is being constructed with the mud wala brick, where brick is produced through by using mud, not the fly ash or something like that, because currently we are using fly ash. So most people would be thinking about the fly ash one, but I would say it is the burnt one, which was being prepared by the mud. And the next feature, which is also being known as the advanced drainage system. So town planning, if there was town planning, then planning also includes the drainage system. So the advanced drainage system of Harappan civilization, which includes the remarkable achievement of the scientific drainage system. So there used to be a drainage system as well, and the houses in the Indus Valley civilization used to have bathrooms connected to a covered drains, and drains were also built along streets, and regularly it was being cleaned, and there always used to be an inspection hall. Currently we are having in our rural areas, and currently we are having in our cities also, but it was previously it was there in the Harappan civilization. That's what I am trying to mention. The other thing include the public architecture, which is also being known as the large scale structures of like Great Path, the granaries, like the Great Path which we also found, like which is also been invented, like which was been found in Mohenjo-daro, and the granaries of Harappa, Mohenjo-daro and Lothal, the granaries which also being found. So all these things indicates a civic life and administrative control was there in the Indus Valley civilization. So basically, whether it is the drainage system or whether it is the public architecture, the main thing which include which I would like to highlight is that like about the civic life they are having in the Harappan civilization and the administrative control they are having there. So the next thing which moving forward, so the monumentality, like they are having an absence of monumentality, which includes the Harappan architecture used to, there was not grand temples was not there, like currently we are having, like we can see in the the Vijayanagara Empire, or whether it is in the other empires and all, we can see the there won't be like great grand temples like they currently we are having like that one, and they were not having palaces, great palaces, and which suggest that they were mostly focusing about the civic posture. Okay, they are not focusing about the royal posture. And the next feature would be the intercommunication. So they are having intercommunication pages, which also being used for the movement of the rulers, for the priest, and for the common people. So they are having a passage. The sites include the passage where, like for the movement of the ruler, priest, and the common people, they are having different passages. So other thing which I want to highlight about the residential architecture. Okay, so basically the residential architecture includes the houses which varied in sizes, as you can see here. So basically the residential architecture were also being, as you can see here, it's varied in sizes. Okay, it varied in sizes, and it was most of the houses were having the central courtyard, the rooms are around the courtyard, the bathrooms in the well, and separate entrances for each and every streets, and privacy and sanitation was also being maintained. So privacy was one of the concern they were having in the Indus Valley civilization. So basically this is what about the residential architecture which we can see. And about the defense, like the example for this residential architecture which can be highlighted is about the Mohenjo-daro. Okay, the excavations were found that Mohenjo-daro with attached bathroom and connected to drains. So it shows about the perfect residential architecture they were having. So as we're moving on, we see the defensive architecture also and the public buildings, which having the citadel and all these things. So citadel were often divided into, it was often divided. The concept of citadel was there for elites and for public structure, and for lower town or for common people, like they were having a concept of citadel for elites, and for the lower town for the common people. So thick walls and all these things suggest a defense, as the thick walls was also being highlighted as a defensive towards the flood and all. So whenever there used to be flood or something like that, so these people were having the flood protection through this defensive, like they used to have this thick wall which used to become a defensive against the flood protection. That's what I say. And other thing which I really want to highlight is having stones, the use of stone. Okay, they are having, apart from the bricks, they are also used to stone, they used to highlight the stones thing. Stone architecture was there, and I won't say stone architecture particularly, but they use the stone in specific sites, like in Dholavira it is being found, the stone masonry, and which shows the regional variation also. So sometimes the regional variation comes, it's about the availability. So the other features which I want to highlight is about the special economical structure. Like, in during excavation, it was found that there was a dockyard in the Lothal. Okay, so basically it shows about the maritime trade links. So they used to have we agar if now if suppose if they are having a dockyard, that means definitely they will be having a warehouse also, because without warehouse you can't run a dockyard, because you need a place where you want to, where you are supposed to be having so many things now. अभी कुछ आ रहा है डॉकयार्ड में, then तो obviously you are collecting those things and you have to keep it somewhere. So obviously there would be definitely would be a concept of warehouses. That's why I mentioned it here as well. And as we can see, like they were having a proper water management system. So we can see the example of water management system drawn out from the Dholavira, where they are having the systems of the concept of reservoirs, dams, and they used to have a hydraulic model in in most of the arid region also. They used to have a hydraulic model of tanks and all these things. So this shows about the great water, the system of water conservation, or the system of reservoirs, or the system of water management they were having. So this is what it is about the Indus Valley civilization. We can see about the sanitation, the civic features, and all these things were there. And so in conclusion, which we write, so basically whenever we are writing in the mains, we used to have the intro part and all these things. I would write here the intro, then we have to go to the main concept, okay, then we have to look after the conclusion. Okay, so conclusion is nothing but the derivation of both of this addition about the, like the concept and the introduction. We can add it and we can summarize it, and I can write it as a conclusion. So the conclusion will be, which I had mentioned, is like the Harappan architecture was characterized by systematic town planning, standardized construction, efficient drainage, advanced water management, and functional public buildings. These features reveal a highly organized urban civilization and make the Harappans among the earliest and most accomplished city builders of the ancient world. So basically the Harappan architecture, which I already mentioned about the civic thing, the civic discipline, the technological mastery, because they were having sanitation, they were having private washrooms, and all these things were there. So they are having a technological also they are a little advanced, and they were having the environmental adaptation system, where they used to have defensive walls and all these things against the flood control and all. And its main feature remained instructive, because most of the time, so from there we can see about the smart cities, the vision we are having about the Amrit and Jal Jeevan mission, which were also being run by the government of India. Beyond being an archaeological legacy, it also instructive, and it can help us in to add some addition, to do some addition into the Amrit scheme, or the smart cities, or the Jal Jeevan mission. So it will continuously inspire us in our vision for having a sustainable and inclusive urbanism, or sustainable and inclusive development in the urban cities, or urban planning, which we are planning in the government sector also. That's it. So this is it for the first question. So as we look into the second question now, so as we're moving on, we can see the next question, that is question number 2. So the question number 2 is basically talking about, like it's about Akbar's religious syncretism. So the question says, like, examine the main aspects of Akbar's religious syncretism. So basically we just have to give an intro about Akbar's religious policy. As we already studied, like Akbar used to adopt a secular policy, because he used to have a diverse population, and he used to administer, because he was having a vision of administrating a large amount of people, a diverse population, different creeds and different religion and different caste and all these things. People used to be there in his empire. So Akbar, who actually had started from 1556 to 1606, and Akbar is the one who adopted religious policies to strengthen his administration, mostly the secular religious policy. So basically the the religious policies of Akbar was guided by some series of principles, which have the main aim of the principle is to unite and respect the diverse population and its emotion and its ethnicity. That's what the main aspect of his policies. So when we see his principles, I can see there are 4 principles he is highlighting about, as we can see, the universal peace, and he is having like the pillar of tolerance, the pillar of equity, the pillar of amity, the pillar of kindness. The reason why I had not mentioned here is all because here it is not possible to synchronize those things, because we are writing the question for 15 marks, and I have to synchronize it, like the words should be limited. That's why I had not kept it. But as we can see, the pillar of tolerance, as we discuss the four principles one by one, so we can see like the pillar of tolerance, which ensures the freedom of religion, allowing the expression from different beliefs. And the pillar of equity, which is the second one, as we can see, it's the equity, it means treating equally to all the people regardless of their faith. And amity, so I mean the meaning of amity we all know, like it's talk about the friendly relation between different religious groups, and building the understanding between the different religious group. And the fourth pillar, which also being known as the pillar of kindness, so kindness we know what it is, and it's about promoting compassion and understanding between people of different backgrounds, and promoting compassion in between them of different religious sect. So these are the four pillars, I can summarize this one. But the main aspect, as per the question, main aspect of Akbar's religious syncretism will stand one by one, the policy of Sulaykul. So basically the policy of Sulaykul, it's about like Sulaykul, it's which to mean peace to all. So it comes it's like Akbar used to emphasize universal peace and tolerance. He is a person who used to bring the who is in the intention of bringing universal peace and tolerance, in the religious sector. It is to allow the free practice of religion. अगर आप किसी को भी अगर what you used to do, if we are giving someone freedom of expressing his religion or his views about his own self, then there would be peace. Because if we try to curb it, then they will groan and they will resist. So he was having the the policy of universal peace and tolerance, where we can see the example is like he abolished jizya tax on people who are not who are not belonging to the Muslim community. So he abolished the jizya tax on non-Muslim people in 1564, and the pilgrimage tax on 1563. And the next is about the Deen-e Ilahi. So basically Deen-e Ilahi is a syncretic faith combining the best principles of different religions. It's about it's a combined thing. It's about a combining principle, like a holding or taking the best principles of different religions, like the karma and the ahimsa, right? The ahimsa thing which we talk about, non-violence, and karma, or from Hinduism. And from Islam they Akbar took tawhid and piti. And from Christianity, as we can see, the charity. So in Christianity, as we can see, one of the best principle which people highlight is charity. And from Zoroastrianism, it is worship of light. So this is how he made Deen-e Ilahi. And the next is Ibadat Khana, interfaith dialogue. So in Ibadat Khana, is basically, it's a kind of a platform where people from different sect and different religion come, and they used to debate, and they used to have dialogues onto it, and they used to come in a mutual understanding, a mutual respect to each other. So this is how it is. And the next is about the pillar of amity, or as we can see, the pillar of amity, which I told you, it's about the alliances he made. Akbar is known for its marriage or matrimonial alliances, right? So he used to have alliances with the Rajput and other kingdoms to have that friendly or political partnership, which will further not harm him, or it will not put him in any kind of trouble. So as we can see, the Rajput alliance, we can see in matrimonial and political partnership he was having with Raja Man Singh, where he integrated the Hindu elites, stabilizing frontiers and embedding cultural pluralism. So he was ensuring cultural pluralism through this policy of Rajput alliance, and other administrative inclusiveness also is there. Like he given the high ranking posts to the mostly the Hindu people, like the Hindu people who were working in his administrative or in his empire, like whether it is Radha, Todarmal or Birbal. We know in our childhood stories also we heard so many things about Akbar and Birbal. So Birbal, the way he gave respect to Birbal and Man Singh, so this broadened the political stability and trust across communities. So it used to give a signal to the non-Muslim people that yes, Akbar is kind to us and he is having secular policy. So he was having the his supreme authority in religious matters. He's like, so he used to decide, like he used to have documents like Majar. He declares his authority over religious disputes, weakening strict clerical power and reinforcing the emperor's role as a unifier. So Akbar always used to play a role of a unifier, where he used to ensure that the authority or the disputes, it should not harm people, or there should not be in a sense it would become like it will rise the communalism or something like that. So this is how it is. And under the fourth pillar, which is the pillar of kindness, he used to respect the other tradition. He used to honor Jain monks, and he banned the cow slaughter on Jain festivals, and adopted Tarike calendar and integrated Zoroastrian rituals also. And in the sector of cultural things, he got Persian translations of Mahabharata and Ramayana, and the Indo-Islamic synthesis of the Fatehpur Sikri, the Mughal painting or the Tansin's music, which was also being highlighted as the Akbar's cultural syncretism, the main syncretism of Akbar's cultural patronage. So like other things, if I say about the prohibition of religious conversion, no, he used to be against of this forcible religious conversions. He used to respect freedom of both all the faith, and he used to prevent coercion or discrimination in religion. And other things is about the protection of life and property of all the people from different faiths. So he used to ensure people used to live freely, securely. People should feel security, and they should feel secure in his empire, and that's why he used to ensure equal rights irrespective of religion. And he used to have land grants, like he granted Madade Mas, which is land given to Hindu temples, Jains and Persian institutions. So this is what it is about the main aspects of Akbar's religious syncretism, or he used to being known as Akbar, being known as bringing brotherhood, if I say, in different religions through his policy. So basically this is what it is. And Akbar's religious syncretism was expressed through Sulaykul, abolition of discriminatory taxes, interfaith dialogue, Deen-e-Ilahi, inclusion of non-Muslims in administration, and promotion of cultural exchange, having whether it is about the Ibadat Khana, whether it is about the Rajput marrying having matrimonial alliances with the non-Muslim communities or kingdoms, and having authority over all the things, and having the kindness structure or the expression of kindness through cultural patronage, or whether it is through tradition, land grants, and all these things. We can see the actual measure which strengthened the Mughal Empire and left a lasting legacy of religious tolerance and pluralism in Indian history. We can trace it out through this. So this is all about question number 2. So moving on to the question number 3. So the question number 3 is, the sculptors feel the Chandela art form with resilient vigor and the breadth of life. Elucidate. So it talks about the Chandela dynasty. So the dynasties lasted between 9th to 13th of century Common Era, emerged as a prominent patrons of temple art. A Chandela dynasty was being known for its prominent contribution in the temple art and in architecture, particularly in the central India, especially into the currently the Madhya Pradesh, which is also being known as Madhya Pradesh, and the Bundelkhand region actually particularly. So not completely in Madhya Pradesh, it is in the adjoining states also. So their most sorry for that one. So the most celebrated contribution which is found of this Chandela dynasty is about the Khajuraho temples, which is also being known as the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is also being known as the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was a contribution of the Chandela dynasty, which lasted from 9th to 13th of century. So the resilient vigor and the breadth of life of Chandela dynasty, or the Chandela sculptures, which we can see about, so as we can see, it's about the resilient vigor in sculptural style. So basically, Chandela sculptures emphasized movement and fluid postures like Tribhanga, making stone figures appear lively and dynamic rather than stiff. So in these fluid postures, where they used to have the Tribhanga, we have seen that temple, that stone art also, and where we will see the Tribhanga styles or the Tribhanga postures, the posture which is important in the Chandela sculptures actually. And other things is like it reflect emotions, such as devotion, joy and valor, reflecting inner vitality. So you can see the example is the dancing apsaras and warrior figures on Kandaria Mahadev and Lakshman temple, which show this energy and resilience of this resilient vigor. So moving on to the next thing, which is religious and spiritual vibrancy. So in the Chandela dynasty, about the features is like the divine human unity. So the Nandi Mandapa, Apsaras and ascetics together depict the seamless flow of life and spirituality. We can see the spiritual vibrancy also in this, in this architecture of Chandela dynasty, which also depict the sculpture which also depict about the Hindu and Jain deities with a sense of devotion and majesty. And we can see all this about this, this depiction of Hindu and Jain, which shows the sense of devotion and majesty in the Kandaria Mahadev temples of Lord Shiva and Shakti portray, which where the Shakti portray spiritual energy and divine vigor. So the next thing about the divine depiction of human emotions in daily life. So we talk the sculpture infused realism by portraying farmers, musicians, dancers, soldiers and women in various moods. This reflects breadth of life, showcasing both the sacred and the secular. So basically, in the thing, you can see the Chandela dynasty's temple architecture, or their about the sculptures and all. It reflects about daily life, real things about the human emotions, like magician, farmers, dancer, and all these people are being reflected already. All these professions are being reflected as an emotion. So which can see this example from a woman applying makeup, a musician playing instrument, and Lakshmana temple. So in the Lakshmana temple you can see all these things. And the next thing is the presence of erotic mithuna, which is amorous couple. Sculpture symbolizes fertility and the interconnectedness of kama, desire, with spiritual pursuits of moksha. So we also see some inclusive worldview of this architect, where we see about erotic mithuna, which shows about a couple showing the interconnectedness between the expressing the kama and the moksha, like the spiritual growth and the desire, and which also symbolizes the the fertility and all. And as we're moving on, we can see the next is animal vitality. So elephants at Vishwanath temple at entrance, and lions, tigers and mythical vyala symbolize strength and vigor. So the lions or the animals or tigers and all these elephants and all, they also being reflected in their art form, and it shows about the strength. And Chandela art showcase a deep connections with nature, they used to incorporate the flora and fauna into its motif as well. So basically, as we see the animal motifs such as elephant and horses on temple plinths, it reflects the creepers and floral carvings interwoven with human figures in Kandaria Mahadev temple. So Kandaria Mahadev temple is very important. It is it is an expression of the Chandela dynasty's vigor and its contribution of art form in the temple architecture. So they were having Kama is a part of life, where they show the erotic sculpture about 10% of total carving, symbolizing which the Kamo as one of the 4 Purusharthas of the goal of life, and they reflect the joy, passion and vigor of human existence rather than mere sensuality. So they are having this erotic and symbolic art form of Kama as well, or which see about the desire and interconnectedness of with the spirituality, or which is the moksha and all. And we can see the social and cultural representation also. So Chandala art mirrors the society's environmental, political and economic conditions, depicting common people's lives, where we see the sculptures depicting royal courts and celebratory rituals in Vishwanath temple. So we can highlight, in the conclusion also, as we can see, I already had mentioned, like the Chandala sculptures infuse the art with resilient vigor through dynamic, energetic figures and with a breadth of life through the depiction of diverse human activities, emotions and beliefs. Their masterpieces, particularly at Khajuraho group of monuments, remains among the finest achievements of Indian temple sculpture and vividly reflect the richness of medieval Indian society and culture. So basically the Chandala sculpture, which is also immortalized human emotions, divine ideas about our everyday life with unmatched energy and breadth. Their art was not limited to just to the religious devotion or something like that, but they in whole celebrated the life, the human existence, the environment, the expression of animals, making Khajuraho a living testimony of India's cultural resilience and creativity. So that's why it is being one of the best art form which was contributed by the Chandela dynasty.